All right. Let's tackle the Stussy conundrum. Hello there, class. Welcome to Tekking101 Analyzes One Piece. Today we were going to be looking at the Stussy conundrum, also known as the Stussy paradox, also known as Stussy B Sussy 101. So, this is Stussy right here. She first appeared during the Totland arc. She was a member of the Pleasure District. She was the queen of the Pleasure District in the underworld. Later on, we found out she was actually a secret agent under Cypher Pull Zero, the protective guard of the Tenryubito. Later, even on, we found out that she was in fact actually a succubi, that we actually don't know her, intent right now on exactly who she works for or what she's doing. She might not work for anybody, who knows? She might be her own person just going around biting giraffes' necks. That might just be her thing. By the way, there was a little bit of foreshadowing in this. Remember back during Totland when Smoothie was there kind of welcoming all of the tea party guests, and she was using her ability, the juice fruit, because Smoothie could juice people, and there was like a rock, and then there was like a woman, and then there was like a giraffe with a weird call or something, and then Smoothie's like, I can use my power to make juice out of any of these people or objects or animals, what would you prefer? And I think Stussy actually asked for the giraffe. Ah, the bouquet of that, so delicious. And then in this last chapter, she just, and just bites, giraffe Kaku. So, yeah. I wonder if the blood tasted better because Kaku was an awakened giraffe user. That increased the quality. I don't know. So, Stussy, I'm just going to throw something out right here. I've been noticing a popular trend in the One Piece theory community the past couple of days. I saw a video Artur made yesterday about Bonnie, and a lot of people are talking about Weevil right now, because Weevil was purportedly the son of Whitebeard, and now that we know that Stussy is a clone of Buckingham Stussy, who is Miss Bakine, who Miss Bakine was most likely a member of Mads way back in the day. That's how, the DNA for Stussy came about and everything like that. What if Weevil's not actually a true son of Whitebeard, but he's a clone? Maybe he got the DNA kind of a little bit messed up because he doesn't look exactly like Whitebeard, but he's definitely really powerful. He might not have a lot of stuff going on up here, but he is redonkulously strong. He kind of reminds me of, do you ever watch Cyanide and Happiness? There's a long-running series in Cyanide and Happiness called The Adventures of Lunk, and it's a parody of Zelda. Okay, so Lunk is Link, and Lunk is just this massive, Incredible Hulk variant of Link that maybe has 2 brain cells rattling around upstairs, and he just he'll see a mountain, and instead of just climbing over the mountain, he'll just walk through it, every step, just carves out a freaking tunnel in this mountain. That's kind of like Weevil. Weevil's like, all right, mama, let's go through the mountain now. Boom! And he just it's just walking slowly through it. He just comes out the other side, and there's a perfect Weevil shaped hole all the way through it. Yeah, that's kind of Weevil. He's definitely really powerful. But you know what? Okay, Weevil's a clone, Bonnie's a clone. You know what? I'm going full steam ahead with this. Every character in One Piece is a clone. Luffy's a clone of Roger. Yamato's a clone of Kaido. Let's go with that. Bonnie's a clone of Big Mom. Shanks' clone is Uta. Uta's a clone of Shanks. Why not? Who else? Weevil's a clone, of course, of Whitebeard. Let's see, who else? Even the characters we know for a fact are not clones are clones. Sanji's a clone of Judge. Nami's a clone of Belmere. That makes zero sense. Zoro's a clone of Ryuma. You ever wonder why Ryuma? Every single character that even vaguely looks like another character is a clone of that character. Calling it right now. That's how you have to handle theories in One Piece every once in a while, okay? It's okay, we're gonna look at this thing and be like, okay, Weevil is most likely a clone of Whitebeard. That makes a lot of sense. No. Sometimes you gotta go full steam ahead with this, power the train into a mountain, and just every character's a clone. All right, so let's just start off with that. Let's dial this back a little bit here. There's a couple of things that we should address before the cloning thing. So first and foremost, this is a little bit of a contentious issue involving, not really contentious, but there's a moment in the chapter that a lot of people are connecting the dots on, and I just don't think it's true. So a lot of people are thinking that the person that Vegapunk contacted in the last chapter, chapter 1071, who was living on Egghead Island and was just oh yes, of course, I have waited for this day. People are thinking or just assuming that that was Stussy, because Stussy obviously is a clone through Mads, so she has a connection with Vegapunk, therefore she must be the person that, was contacted by Vegapunk to help them. I really don't think that's the case for a few reasons. Number one, it was stated by, I believe, Pythagoras that that individual had been living on Egghead Island for a while by the time Cypher Pole showed up. It wasn't like Stussy was on the island. No, she arrived with Cypher Pole. She was off doing other stuff in Marijois at Reverie. She was in Totland. Clearly Stussy is not living on Egghead Island, and apparently this individual had been there for a while. Also the fact that, like, even if Vegapunk and the satellites knew that, like, oh, Stussy is a double agent or a triple agent or whatever numbered agent, and she's working for Cypher Pole, just the way they phrased that conversation really doesn't seem like they were contacting her. Also, I'm under the impression that that individual is the one that lowered the Frontier Dome, because it's the only other person on the island that might have had access to the computers to control the dome or, like, hack into the mainframe or whatever. And Stussy had nothing to do with that, because when the Frontier Dome went down, like, Stussy was, outside of the dome. We didn't see her messing with anything. It wasn't like Stussy went over to a computer terminal and was, like, hot wiring it or whatever and just like, I'm gonna hack into the mainframe and turn off the Frontier Dome. It wasn't anything like that. Stussy was just standing there, just kind of looking up, and she was even confused when the Frontier Dome powered down. She was, like, looking at it with, like, little question marks. So I don't think it was Stussy that had anything to do with the dome or the person that took it down. However, she's definitely taking advantage of it, because when the dome went back up and now Lucci, Kaku, and Stussy are inside of the dome, they cannot escape. And I think that was the impetus for Stussy revealing herself as, an enemy of Cypher Pole, where she's, like, biting Kaku and knocking him out, and now threatening to do the same to Lucci. She realizes, hey, we're behind the Frontier Dome. If it doesn't get lowered again, there's no way that, any of the government officials down there can help us. So, there's no escape. I can attack Kaku and Lucci, knock them out, they can't leave, and then she can further her own agenda, whatever it is. So I'm under the impression there is still one individual on Egghead Island that we have not met, at least one. The individual in question that Vegapunk contacted, who I believe is the same person that lowered the Frontier Dome. Okay, so just keep that in mind right there. Next up is her devil fruit type. Whether or not she actually has a devil fruit, it's entirely possible just because of, cloning shenanigans and Vegapunk's technology. Granted, Stussy was cloned way back at the beginning of Mad, so the technology wasn't quite at the same level it is right now on Egghead, but still pretty impressive when you get all these really powerful scientists together. If she's a clone of Miss Buckingham Stussy, we know very little about Miss Buckingham. She might already have a devil fruit, and the devil fruit, we just haven't revealed it yet. However, the thing is, if Stussy does have some kind of mythical zone like vampire or succubus that allows her to absorb life essence or the blood or something like that to remain young, there is an issue with that, because Miss Bakin is extremely old. Like, she's a shriveled up old prune. She's 76 years old, and she actually somehow looks older than that. So if like originally Miss Buckingham had, like, let's say a succubus zone that allowed her to absorb life essence and stay young, then I guess she's not using that anymore, or maybe she got it stolen, or maybe the fruit got transferred to the clone or something like that. There are ways you can spin it, but there are issues with this. A lot of people were actually throwing out the idea, what if she's not a succubus or also not a vampire? What if she just has a regular bat zone? Which is fascinating, because we've actually not seen a ordinary, regular, run-of-the-mill bat zone, which is odd, considering all the animals we've explored in One Piece through zone fruits, and we've never seen a bat. There was, like, Hildon, who was, like, a bat zombie that we saw at Thriller Bark, but he doesn't count. And then there's the Bato Bato no Mi model vampire, which Patrick Redfield uses in a video game, but that's, non-canon. So we haven't seen, like, a normal, just, like, a vampire bat zone. And that would work. I mean, we did bat facts here on the channel a while ago. Vampire bats do drink blood, and we saw Stussy drinking blood. The only thing I would throw out there is she was able to knock out Kaku with her bite, so that implies, at least to me, she has a little bit of a mythical, quality, power, given to her beyond just having just bat wings and bat fangs. I think if she had a normal bat zone, she could bite and like suck blood and everything and maybe get an effect of that, but knocking out the enemy, I mean, it's totally possible, because there's some zones out there that, I mean, look at the ancient zones. The ancient zones have the ability to like Brachiosaur could like extend its neck, and then, the Pteranodon can do like the dart attack with a pistol from its head, which, dinosaurs in our world could never do, but Oda kind of spun it that way in his story. So in that context, you could say that, like, oh yeah, a vampire bat biting you might knock you out. Also, you could look at it like in the sense of Stussy explained, like, I put him to sleep, but it also could be like Stussy like drain the blood, and so now Kaku's like anemic or something, like he doesn't have as much blood, and so he's just like, oh man, I need a cookie, and then he passes out. If you've ever given blood or had a blood sample taken, it makes you kind of hungry afterwards, you know what I mean? I remember I had to give a blood sample of something when I was like in middle school, and afterwards me and my mom and my grandmother went to Pizza Hut, and I like devoured like an entire pizza, because I was like, wow, I'm really hungry for some reason. They took a lot of blood out of me. I actually don't remember what that was for, but I remember they like put a syringe and they drew like more than just a little bit of blood. I mean, it was like a whole syringe full of blood. What the hell was wrong with me? I don't know. I don't remember this at all, but I just remember going to Pizza Hut and devouring like a whole stuffed crust pizza afterwards. Anyway, could be that. Right, okay. So, but I still want to go along with the whole thing with her being a vampire or a succubus. It just begs the question whether or not Miss Bockeen has that power. If she's a clone of Miss Buckingham, did it get transferred over or did it get copied? Because we saw that like with the lineage factor with Kaido's Devil Fruit, how Vegapunk was able to extract the blood sample of Kaido, create the Ua Ua no Mi model Azure Dragon, possibly in its awakened form, and that was given to Momonosuke. Who knows? Could also have been the devil fruit that Caesar had at the beginning of the chapter in the cover page. That also could have been her devil fruit. Let's see, there was another angle I wanted to approach this. I think just because, like, there's a lot of foreshadowing of her being a succubus, just the idea that she's a succubus because she was the queen of the pleasure district. I think I brought that up in the last video, but a lot of people were just like, it makes way more sense for her to be a succubus. I'm like, all right, fine, she's a succubus. I remember the other thing, too. Depending on the version, depending on the author of the work, it really depends on exactly the whole absorbing life essence thing. Like, for example, I think in the One Piece video game with Patrick Redfield that has the vampire zone in that version of the franchise, I don't think Patrick Redfield actually absorbs blood. I don't think he bites you and then drains your blood. That might have been maybe a little bit too intense. So he, I think just absorbs your life essence, like your aura or your spirit or something, to maintain his own vitality. So it's kind of like a watered down vampire in that video game, all right? So, obviously Stussy drinks blood. Obviously we've seen her go all Elizabeth Bathory with this. So that's clearly what she's all about. I'm just saying that, like, in some versions, it's like, succubi. Well, in some cases, because succubi are like sex demons, they will have sex with, someone and then, like, absorb their soul, just suck it out through maybe, their mouths, maybe some other location, you know what I mean? Succubi kind of get intense depending on whatever work of fiction you're reading that involves them. Vampires are typically just, I want to suck your blood. Yes, it's like I maintained my youth, maybe something like that. But yeah, I'm still, I guess, going with succubi. I'll put more money on succubi, but I really want vampire. Okay, so what's next? So what is Stussy's goal then? Like, seriously. So in the last video, I mentioned two directions that Oda could take with this, because clearly her actions she's not allied with Cypher Pool Zero, okay? She is clearly not working in Cypher Pool's best interest, all right? So maybe she really is Queen of the Pleasure District, Stussy. Maybe that is her main, persona or whatever, and her as a Cypher Pole Zero agent is the cover. Or maybe both of them are covers, okay? So she's clearly working against the Cypher Pole. So does that necessarily mean she's working for Vegapunk? Because Mads was the one that, like, gave her life, essentially, created her. So maybe she has, like, oh, Vegapunk, I'm allied with you. Also makes sense why she knows a lot about Egghead and the inventions and the Frontier Dome and everything like that. So it could be a thing where she defeated Lucci or Kaku and is going to defeat Lucci in order to help out Vegapunk to regain control of the Seraphim and everything. And maybe Stussy will assist them in leaving the island. Maybe that'll be the thing. Maybe Stussy will hold back Kizaru or something so Vegapunk can leave. Another way of looking at it is she's not exactly on the Cypher Pole's side. She's not on the government side, but she's also not on Vegapunk and the Straw Hat side. She might be her own person. She might be like, I might have been a clone that was created from Miss Buckingham. I might have been created by Vegapunk, but, I'm my own person. I'm my own succubus. I'm going to do whatever. And so her intention might actually be to get something in the lab. She might want to steal something. It might involve clone tech. It might involve devil fruit technology. It might involve weaponry, something else. Maybe Stussy is just like, I am not the Queen of the Pleasure District, nor am I a member of Cypher Pole Zero, nor am I still a Unit 01 of Mads. I am here because I need something from your lab. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to go do something else. My own, plan involved in all of this, So that I actually like that idea. Maybe makes things a little bit messy because you're now adding whole new factions to this. We have Vegapunk, we have the Straw Hats, we have the Marines, we have the government, we have the Tenryubito, we have the Revolutionaries that all sort of have different goals here. And then we involve Stussy now. It's just like, I'm doing my own thing. It's just like, I'll tell you what, like, Miss Bucking and Weevil sort of have to get back into the story somewhere. They've been kind of like wandering off in like their own thing, and they haven't really been focused on it all. So Stussy could literally be the thread that like ties Weevil and Miss Bucking like back into the story in some way. So who knows, maybe Stussy will like steal something from the lab and then fly away. And then, get back to, the person that originated her, who I guess she would view as her mother. I guess she would view Miss Bucking as her mother and Weevil as her brother. This is weird, but okay. And then, like, they work together, and so they're their own faction. Weevil, Miss Bucking, and Stussy. That could be a thing. We could do that. Oh, my God. Oh, what about this? So going back to the whole, like, everybody's a clone. And it's weird. I said that as a joke, but now that I'm actually thinking about it a little bit, like, Yamato being a clone of Kaido, doesn't that kind of make sense? I mean, when you stop and think about that, that kind of makes sense. We never saw, like, Kaido have interest in, like, any woman, really. I mean, there was that one moment when Black Maria was kind of like, flirting with him a little bit, so maybe there was something there. But Black Maria's not Yamato's mother because Yamato's 28 and Black Maria's 29, so that's not going to work. So, yeah, we never really saw in the flashback with Odin or anything. We never saw, like, Kaido with a woman or a wife or anything, right? So Yamato might be Kaido's clone. Just like Artor made a video about, like, Bonnie maybe being a clone of Big Mom. That was actually a popular theory for a while. Not necessarily a clone of her, but Bonnie being a daughter of Big Mom. That was a possibility. But the fact, hey, Bonnie has pink hair. Big Mom has pink hair. Slam dunk right there. Since, two of the Yonko, maybe three if we're including Whitebeard and Weevil's clone, the Yonko all have clone children. All right. Uta, we can get her into the story. We can rewrite her backstory a little bit. She was no longer found in a treasure chest. She's just a straight-up clone of Shanks. Maybe someone stole Shanks' DNA at some point and then made Uta. Who's the clone of Buggy? Maybe not yet. Maybe we don't have a clone of Buggy quite yet, but it's in the works. But yeah, we have... Luffy. Why does Roger look like Luffy in his younger years? Because Luffy's a clone of Roger. Tell you what right now, I'm saying this as a half joke, more than a half joke. I'm saying this as like an 80% joke, but you wait, you see. And then that's the big spin at the end of the story. Everybody was a clone. Oh, Blackbeard, right. Blackbeard might be a clone of Rox. Or maybe Stussy wants something, like wants the clone tech to attempt to clone Rocks. Because that's the thing, like, because the implication is Rocks is dead, and, you know, Garp is there, and he's just like, if Rocks ever comes back, then, oh, we're gonna have trouble. So what if Rocks is straight up dead as a doornail, but his DNA exists somewhere? Maybe it exists within Blackbeard, maybe it exists in some blood sample they have, and they're gonna try to clone Rocks. I also was gonna mention that usually in our world, the way that clones work is if you're going to clone somebody, they have to start off as a baby and then grow up into an adult, right? That's how it works. And I was going to say that's how it works in One Piece, but not necessarily, because the clones that we saw with the Germa were in the tanks. We didn't see, like, any babies. We just saw, like, fully grown adults. So what if the technology in the Germa and the technology that Vegapunk would have is advanced enough that you can make, like, a perfect clone that's, like, already an adult? Like, you make, it's like a perfect clone of yourself, okay? Or, like, accelerated growth or aging or something like that, you know? That could be a situation in One Piece. So, you know, we might be able to get a clone of Rocks or a clone of whoever, and then just might be like, oh, there they are. They're adults now. It's like, oh, shit. Okay, that's dangerous. But yeah, I think that's all the things I wanted to talk about there today. Yeah, the person Vegapunk called, devil fruit type, you know, vampire bat, a regular vampire, succubi, clones! What is exactly Stussy up to? What is her intention? So, yeah, that's that. Maybe working with Miss Baki and Weevil behind the scenes to kind of tie them all into everything. Because all of the factions in One Piece kind of have to, you know, coalesce together for this big final battle, final war, or whatever, you know, finding the One Piece. You know, everybody sort of has to be there, you know, so how are we going to get everybody involved here? But yeah, next chapter could literally just be Stussy fighting Lucci very briefly, knocking his, giving him a cat nap, so to speak, and then she's like going into the lab, steals something, powers down the Frontier Dome, and then just skips out and just leaves. Or it could be like, I'm working with you, Vegapunk. What do you need from me? It might be something like that. I don't know. And then all of the Straw Hats are like, who are you, lady? Because the Straw Hats have never met Stussy. I mean, technically Luffy and Nami did, but they didn't really have any direct interactions with her during Totland. So, you know, Usopp would just be there like, who are you, lady? Why are you a vampire? I'm a succubus, actually. Oh, that's okay. And then Sanji oh god, Sanji's going outside. Oh, I just realized Sanji's going outside with Frankie to join in on the battle. So Sanji is going to walk outside and is going to be face to face with a devil fruit user that is possibly a straight up sex demon. Okay? Oh, Sanji, you poor bastard. Oh, that's not going to end well for you. So Sanji's going to get knocked out. I think we have already established. Sanji's going to be like, oh my god, you're so beautiful. And then Stussy's going to be like, oh! And then Sanji's like, oh, you like it rough? Oh boy. He's going to get flat on his ass. Okay, so, yeah, that's going to happen. It's going to bite right through him. Oh, well, maybe Stussy will try to bite him, and it'll be like, you know, the iron skin or the steel skin because he's a Germa, and her teeth are going to, like, break off or something. And so Sanji might be like, oh my. But then he passes out for another reason. You know, it's kind of just like, you know, oh, he didn't, like when he saw Boa at Sabaody, he didn't turn to stone because of her ability. He turned to stone just because of her beauty. So Stussy, like, bites Sanji's neck, and she can't physically bite him because of his skin, but it's like a really kinky kind of thing that Sanji like passes out anyway. So maybe I could see a bit like that happening. Anyway, that's the video. I didn't write down quail facts. I think we're just gonna move on to rhino facts, ladies and gentlemen, next time. All right, thanks for watching. Tekking signing out. See ya, everybody.